Good Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. We have the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and today you're being part of my exclusive conversation with Madison Hobley, who'll be sharing a bit of his story that you don't want to miss. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In national news, Mississippi State Department of Health reports 1,141 new COVID-19 cases in Mississippi, 29 additional deaths. The Mississippi State Department of Health reported 1,141 new COVID-19 cases and 29 additional coronavirus-related deaths on Tuesday. Of the newly reported deaths, 25 occurred between November the 24th and November the 30th, and 4 occurred between November 19th and November the 22nd. They were identified from death certificate reports. There have now been in Mississippi 3,836 coronavirus-related deaths since the first COVID-19 case was confirmed in Mississippi on March the 11th. Another record was set on Tuesday with 1,057 COVID-19 patients in ICU, according to State Health Officer Dr. Thomas Dobbs. Mississippi State Department of Health officials said the state has returned to the serious shortage of hospital care that was seen over the summer. Mississippians are urged to avoid crowds, keep gathering small, socially distance, and wear a mask. In more national news, Attorney General Barr says no evidence of widespread fraud that'll change the presidential election outcome. Attorney General William Barr said Tuesday the Justice Department has uncovered no evidence of widespread voter fraud that would change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. His comments come despite President Donald Trump's repeated claims that the election was stolen and his refusal to concede his loss to President-elect Joe Biden. The comments are especially direct, coming from Barr, who has been one of the president's most ardent allies. Before the election, he had repeatedly raised the notion that mail-in votes could be especially vulnerable to fraud during the coronavirus pandemic, as Americans feared going to polls and instead chose to vote by mail. Last month, Barr issued a directive to U.S. attorneys across the country allowing them to pursue any substantial allegations of voter irregularity, if they existed, before the 2020 presidential election was certified, despite no evidence at that time of widespread fraud. In more national news, a deadly November and who gets the vaccine first. A panel is meeting to provide guidance on who should be at the front of the line when the first vaccine shots become available. Healthcare workers and nursing home residents will be among the first to get the vaccine. More than 36,000 people have died from COVID-19 in November alone in the United States. The monthly number is not as high as the dark days of April and May, but still a sign of the deadly turn the pandemic has taken this fall. The U.S. averaged 1,200 deaths per day in November. The country is averaging 160,000 new confirmed cases per day. More than 96,000 people nationwide were hospitalized as of Monday. In more national news, unveiling economic team, Biden pledges help is on the way. President-elect Joe Biden on Tuesday introduced top advisors he say will help his administration rebuild an economy hammered by the coronavirus pandemic, declaring, "I know times are tough, but I want you to know that help is on the way." Biden said he'd chosen a first-rate team that is tested and experienced to tackle the country's economic crisis. He picked liberal advisors who have long prioritized the nation's workers and government efforts to address economic inequality. Unemployment remains high as the COVID-19 outbreak widens the gulf between average people and the wealthiest Americans. The virus, which has claimed more than 269,000 lives nationwide, is resurgent across the country amid holiday travel and colder weather sending people indoors. As he did frequently while campaigning, Biden promised that the U.S. would eventually emerge with an economy that is drastically reshaped to better stamp out economic inequality. In business news, strong start to December as S&P 500 index sets another high. Stocks scored more record highs on Wall Street Tuesday, a day after the S&P 500 closed out November with its biggest monthly gain since April. The benchmark index climbed 1.1%, while the tech-heavy NASDAQ added 1.3%. And finally, in entertainment news, event organizer drops Book Expo and annual publishing convention. The annual publishing convention and trade show known as Book Expo, a decades-old tradition where guest speakers have ranged from Bill Clinton to Margaret Atwood, may be coming to an end. Red Pop, which has managed Book Expo for a quarter century, announced on Tuesday that effective immediately, it was retiring the event along with the fan-based BookCon and merchandise-based Unbound. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's on time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Take a break. Do something that will bring you joy. When you feel stuck or bogged down, take a break and do something that will bring you joy. Because joy frees up the mind. Even when you feel overwhelmed, take a break to clear your mind. You might begin by saying a little prayer, asking God to show you what to do first or how to do it. Make yourself walk away from your desk. Stretch. Do some deep cleansing breaths. Enjoy a cup of tea or coffee. When you feel stuck, you must find the common joyful thing that works for you. Joyfulness will allow your mind to see things differently. Joyfulness is the positive energy force to free up your creativity. Take a walk. Go outside for a minute. Look up at the sky, taking in the fresh air. Be quiet and allow God to speak to you, assisting you with your perceptions. Today, practice becoming joyful about everything, about anything. And remember, enjoy your day.
Madison Hobley joined me recently on Conversations Live, the radio show. Here is a bit of our exclusive conversation right here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Madison Hobley is someone who was wrongfully convicted and then sentenced to death row where he served for over 16 years. In an exclusive interview on Conversations Live, the radio show, he talked with me about the journey and life moving forward. Here's a bit of our powerful conversation. So, Madison, I want to talk about this journey for you. What has it been like for you now as you kind of reflect on what you've been through and now where you are?
I'll tell you, when the nightmare began 33 years ago, we're talking about the 1st January 1987, where I lost my wife, and my wife was my high school sweetheart, and after 4 years of marriage, we decided to have a son, and he was 15 months old when the apartment building in which we lived in was set on fire. I want to say by the grace of God, me and God, we talked about this, and you see it still hurts me, even 32 years ago.
Right.
I talked about God when I was falsely accused of setting the fire in which my wife and my 15-month-old son, we lived in the apartment building. And why God allowed me to survive, he explained it to me over and over again. But I was falsely accused and wrongly convicted and sent to Illinois death row with a total of 16 years. And the whole time I was there, never been in prison before, never been to jail. And the whole time I was there, God was with me. He really was. God was with me. He was my strength.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. But we'll have you guys on tomorrow with more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course our Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.